The swizzle dates back to at least the 1830s and, according to David Wondrich, was originally cold rum and water. At this time, ice was not available in the Caribbean, and when it did become available in the 1800s, remember, ice wasn't being made in the Caribbean. It was being shipped from far-off places that had cold winters where ice could be harvested and stored. The swizzle was not only being made in one place, but around the Caribbean, and was named after the way it was made. It was swizzled with a swizzle stick. And that way of making it continues to this day where swizzle drinks are served. Sometimes with a swizzle stick, and sometimes with an electric swizzle stick. Most of the time, these old swizzles included Angostura and different kinds of spirits, including gin. However, by the late 1890s, it was the green swizzle that had become the most popular, and Wondrich shares that recipe as 3 tablespoonfuls of rum, 2 tablespoonfuls of falernum, a dash of wormwood bitters, and shaved ice. And that recipe came from the New York Herald in 1908. I have thought to make the green swizzle, but making my own wormwood bitters was a bridge too far for me. And no, you can't just sub in absinthe, you need to make the real stuff. But if you want to make your own wormwood bitters, Wondrich shares a recipe that's in Imbibe. The green swizzle may have been from Barbados, which would make some sense because of the falernum involved, but it would go on to live at the Queen's Park Hotel in Trinidad. What happened to its popularity between then and today? I don't know, I have no idea. But the most popular swizzle that remains today is also from the Queen's Park Hotel, which is the Queen's Park Swizzle. But today we're not focusing on either of those swizzles, and instead we're going to focus on the swizzles that showed up later on at Tiki bars at places like Don the Beachcomber, the Mai Kai, and Smuggler's Cove. Don the Beachcomber swizzle was the 151 swizzle, and like all good swizzles, they're pretty pared down when comparing to some of the 8 to 15 ingredient cocktails. Donn's 151 swizzle calls for Pernod, Angostura, lime juice, simple syrup, and rum. So let's make one, and you can swizzle it, but today I'm going to use the electric swizzle machine instead. I'm going to start with 6 drops of Pernod, 1 dash of Angostura bitters, half an ounce of lime juice, half an ounce of simple syrup, 1.5 ounces of a 151 proof Demerara rum, garnish with some nutmeg and a cinnamon stick. So there you go, the 151 swizzle from Don the Beachcomber. This recipe came from Beachbum berry. All right, before diving into this delicious looking cocktail, let's make the other 2 swizzles today, and then we could taste them all side by side. And the next one we're gonna make is from the Mai Kai. Mariano Liquidini didn't change the name from the Don the Beachcomber version and left it as the 151 swizzle. That recipe, like most of the Mai Kai, is a secret, but the Atomic Grog's tribute recipe is a fine place to replicate this drink. I already made this ice shell for this one using the metal swizzle cup. These are the Beachbum berry versions of the glass. Just press the ice in with your muddler, and the more you push into this, the ice will rise out at the top, giving it that iconic look. For the Mai Kai version of the 151 swizzle, you'll need Pernod, Angostura, lime juice, a rich 2-to-1 simple syrup, grenadine, falernum, a 151 Demerara rum, and a dark Jamaican rum. I'm using the Mai Kai blend here. Also going to be using the electric swizzle machine, starting with 3 drops of Pernod, 2 dashes of Angostura bitters, half an ounce of lime juice, half an ounce of a rich 2-to-1 syrup, 1 teaspoon of grenadine, half an ounce of falernum, 1.5 ounces of a 151 Demerara rum, half an ounce of a dark Jamaican rum. So there you go, the 151 Swizzle from the Mai Kai, the Atomic Grog tribute recipe. Last but not least is the 2070 Swizzle, and it's a drink from Martin Kate that you can find in the Smuggler's Cove book, and you can also order this one there today, which I just did a couple weeks ago. It's Kate's take on making the ultimate swizzle based on several historic and classic recipes for the 151 Swizzle, or for the swizzle in general. The name 2070 comes from adding up some numbers involved in the rum labels, the Angostura 1919 plus Lemon Heart 151. I do have some Lemon Heart 151, but today at Smuggler's Cove, they use Hamilton 151, which I also just prefer, but I do not have Angostura 1919, so instead I'm going to be using Angostura 7, so I guess this is like a 158 Swizzle. The recipe calls for Herbstura, which is half Herb Saint and half Angostura. I don't have Herb Saint, so I'm just using a couple drops of Pernod and 1 dash of Angostura. You're also going to need lime juice, a Demerara syrup, a honey syrup, allspice dram, rum, more rum, and some nutmeg. We are going old school manual style for this one, so into a glass, I'm going to add our 1 dash of Herbstura, or 3 drops of Pernod and 1 dash of Angostura, half an ounce of Demerara syrup, half an ounce of honey syrup, half an ounce of allspice dram, 1 ounce of our Angostura rum, 1 ounce of Hamilton 151. Oh, and don't forget the lime juice. That would have been a disaster. And we're in Trader Joe's baseball lime season where you can make all 3, maybe 4, 5, 6, 7 cocktails using just one of these giant ass limes. And then about a pinch of freshly grated nutmeg into the glass. Now I'm going to fill this up 3/4 of the way with ice, and I'm going to swizzle it. Top with more ice, and then I'm going to garnish with some mint, this Smuggler's Cove giant swizzle stick, and then we're going to put a napkin around this, just like they do there today. So there you go, the 2070 Swizzle from Smuggler's Cove. All right, summer has been in full swing around here. It's hot today. I don't know if I've been more excited to drink 3 cocktails, and these are not, easy drinking cocktails. These are like legit Tiki classic cocktails. So let's start with the Don the Beachcomber 151 Swizzle. It is 151 rum. I mean, you're not like tasting the fact that it's 151, but it is a Hamilton Demerara. That is like the first and foremost flavor you get. The Pernod, it's pretty subtle. Just kind of balances out with everything in there with the Angostura and the lime juice. I mean, this is what, those classic exotic cocktails, which were not over-the-top fruit juice cocktails. They weren't things with cream of coconut, wasn't necessarily pineapple juice, but just a basic sour cocktail, swizzle, Planter's Punch that had just a little more to it than just Angostura. And that's what you get here with Don the Beachcomber's 151 Swizzle. All right, let's try the tribute from the Atomic Grog, intensifying some of these flavors a little bit by adding some grenadine, some falernum, and then not just Demerara, but also that Mai Kai rum. Now that Mai Kai blend, it's based off of the Kahala Bay rum that they used to serve there. If you want to know more about that, I'll leave a link in this episode's description to Atomic Grog, but you can also watch the Barrel of Rum video that we did about a month or 2 ago from the Mai Kai, building that blend, and you can see what rums are in there. So let's try it. I was expecting this one to have just like way more flavor than the Donn's version, which seems so basic, but I almost feel like it's dulled down I'm thinking that it's the temperature. This one is so much more refreshing because it's so much colder. So I'm gonna take temps on these real quick just to see. It's funny to see this. This is 27 degrees just in the glass with ice. 19 degrees. Okay. That extra chill dulls a lot of the flavors. When you're dealing with something that is much colder, the sweetness isn't going to come through as much. So that 2-to-1 simple with the grenadine, with the falernum, that's like way more sweetness than we're getting from Donn's. But because of the temperature here, it's not as sweet. So I like that because it feels drier. It's not, but it's so much more refreshing. It's a pretty big difference there in temperature. And you know, you got the cup, you got the shell. They were both put through the drink mixer at the same time, so it's not really that. It's really the vessel it's served in. Grenadine and falernum get a little bit lost, but I don't know. I think John D. Taylor falernum, it's not a very strong flavor. It's mainly sweetness, a little bit of clove, a little bit of that lime, but it's just mainly sweetness. It's mainly a sugar syrup, but in a drink like this, it does get lost in there. I use my homemade grenadine, which I'll link to. I'll have another video coming up with like a bunch of more syrup things, but I really love homemade grenadine. It's the most robust grenadine flavor I've ever had. So I mean, knowing that it's in there, I can sense it's in there, but if I didn't know it was in there, I don't know if I would necessarily pick up that 1 teaspoon. All right, let's move on to the 2070 Swizzle from Smuggler's Cove. Just for fun. So I'm using the spoon to just make sure that the thermometer's not touching ice. 27 degrees. A lot more going on, but subtle flavors. You can get the nutmeg in there. You can get the allspice in there. Demerara, just a little different sweetness in the pure Brit Simple that the other two have. It's great. It's fantastic. And it tastes very Smuggler's Cove, which, you know, I haven't traveled the world going to tiki bars, but to me, the flavors of Smuggler's Cove, the backbone of them is Don the Beachcomber. It's rum and spice. That's what I feel anyways with the cocktails that I get when I'm there. I think all three of these are very good. For me right now, like this one, I don't know why, this one is the most refreshing. You know, it's maybe the rum in there and having like a big strong rum and then a backbone of a lighter style rum. Like Angostura rums are not funky. They're not big, bold, flavorful rums. And it's almost like that kind of lengthens it out. And then the sweetness, getting two things in there, sweetness, the Demerara and the honey. And then I guess the allspice adding sweetness too. So just a little bit of allspice there makes a big difference. And thank goodness I didn't forget the lime juice, because I would have been, you know, I'd been having a hard time figuring out what the hell's wrong with it. So all three of these Swizzles are delicious. You can't go wrong with any of them. Just depends on kind of what you're looking for. The most basic version is going to be the Don the Beachcomber, bumping up the flavors quite a bit more with the one from the Mai Kai, the Atomic Grog's tribute recipe. But depending on how you serve it, if you're doing a taste test like this, that temperature is significantly different. Everything's muted when you're doing it with the ice shell in this one. And then really, I mean, I'll just say like my favorite right now, the one that I am enjoying the most is the one from Smuggler's Cove. Full transparency, sometimes I make these videos and, you know, it might be a great drink too. I end up not wanting to drink them, especially if I'm making several. I want to drink these. I'm gonna drink all of these. Responsibly, of course. And I don't have a menu, I don't have a best of, I don't have a clip episode that's here's the best things I've ever had. But if I had a menu here at this bar, this one would be on that menu. So all three great, but yeah, definitely leaning towards a 2070 Swizzle. Martin K wanted to make the ultimate Swizzle, and looks like he probably did. So that's it for this one. I'm Derek, this is Make and Drink. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like below. Consider subscribing to the channel. If you want to support this channel more, go check out the Patreon page, and otherwise, see you on the next one.